Hello, my name is Ivan Logunenko and I'm applying for JetBrains Internship. I selected topic import from ClickUp to YouTrack. My task is to pull issues from GitHub repo and push them to YouTrack after some changes in formatting. And second part is to create a process that will synchronize updates. So in case anything gets changed in GitHub, I will automatically send those updates to YouTrack. So here is my code. For first part, we have a little print debug function that just prints debug messages to console. We have config structure with GitHub token and GitHub repo. So what token to use and from what repo do we pull those issues. Then we have YouTrack token. Again, for YouTrack API to work, then server name. So here is my YouTrack, and here I have my server name. You might have your own. Then YouTrack project ID or project name. I will explain later why or. And then we have debug options. So if we want more debug messages so all debug messages to be outputted to understand where the issue is or what data do we get, just switch it to true. And this will true, so it will be printing. You don't have to go to this configuring structure and input your config options here. You can just set them to be in your Docker file or export their values in your terminal, and they will get loaded by Node.js. So currently I'm setting them in Docker file. In case we have any misconfigurations, so token is empty or undefined, so GitHub repo was undefined, so not found, or any other issue, you'll get error message, and the same error message will get thrown as an error. If we don't have project ID or it's undefined, then I check if we have project name. If we don't, you'll get another error. But if we do, I will send a request to YouTrack and query for that project name. So I have one project, that's GB test task, and here I have JB. So even if you know some part of your project name, it still suffices. And then we check if everything went fine, print some data if we're in debug mode, and we get our project ID. So now we can output the whole config structure, and we are fully configured to start getting data from GitHub. So yeah, we pull data from GitHub with OctoKit. That's library from GitHub to execute their requests. We pass token to auth option in constructor, and then we send a request to get all issues from configured GitHub repo with state all, so either closed or open. We don't care, and we get everything. And then we check for just output how many issues did we get. Some debug and check in for status to be 200. And we're ready to push issues to YouTrack. I've split it mapping into two steps. So I take result data. Result is variable from OctoKit. Naming could be better, but still. So yeah, we have two steps. In first step, I cut JSON that I got from GitHub because it tends to be too big, carrying a lot of data. And I take only data that I need. Why I splitted that in two steps, because we could have just title, URL, HTML URL. That's pretty like an alias. So in case in future GitHub makes a change, or I want to make a change in second step, or here I don't need a value or I need another value, I don't have to. So it's easier to change and tinker with that data in future. I can make here another step where I output every field they need, or I can filter that. So yeah, it's just easier as for me. And so here I map all data that I get. I set summary as title. So here is my GitHub. That's GB task where I created some issues. They're all closed because I was testing second part, and some issue will be title here, thus being summary. Then we have definition, a description, sorry. Yeah, so some link to origin, created by whom, at some time, last update, current state, if it is assigned, locked, or state, yeah, to output its state. If it's closed, then it's closed by whom and at what time. Reactions and description. Again, description can be null, so in case anything is null, I just output empty string, and yeah, again, that's easier by splitting in two steps than having one step. Lastly, I considered using YouTrack custom fields, but I think that having one big description then splitting data in many custom fields is easier to read and capture all important data that you need to know about the project. It's, as for me, it's simpler and carries more data. So in YouTrack for an issue, no, for an issue we can only have state assignee, and I think that's it. Also milestone, but here I can also show if it's locked, when it was updated, when it was closed, by whom, some reactions. So it's definitely more data. And now we have summary and description, two fields that are required to push data. And for every issue that we got, I add project ID that we queried in the beginning, then merging this entry, which is this structure, and sending that to YouTrack API, passing my token, my server name, stringifying body. Then we check if everything was fine, and yeah, if it was, then issue was successfully pushed. If not, then I will throw an error and some response to understand what went faulty. So let's build Docker image. It's part one. So this will be the name of Docker container, and this will be name of file because I have two files. So yeah, it got built. Now we can run it. Docker run. Yeah, I give it name JetBrains test task part one. We use container part one latest. Environment file is .env. I have it. That's the file. I have my tokens set. I will not show it. And D to make it detached. Oh, yeah, I have been testing it, so I have to remove container and then we can run. Yep. So Docker logs. Yep. We got some issues. We got exactly 3 issues. We are pushing them to YouTrack, and these are names. And if we update, we will see our issues. So some test issue, and here are information. There is also type. Yeah, in my opinion, it's better this way. So yeah, and don't forget to remove container. Now coming to part 2. Part 2 is pretty the same, but I also have poll interval set up here. There exists an option of creating webhook. So normally we should use webhook because with continuous polling, my application will be continuously asking GitHub, hey, do you have any updates on issues? Do you have updates on issues? Do you have updates in issues with this poll? And that depends on how public that project is. For example, some Linux kernel might have a lot of issues upcoming every day. Some unknown project might not have any for months, and you are just overloading your CPU if poll interval is low, and you won't get update in time if poll interval is big. So I decided that between a second and 10 seconds should be fine. Um, Otherwise, we have everything the same. So token, repo, token, server name, project ID, project name, our debug function, and debug is false by default. So again, we try to take data from environment variables, we load them and validate them, load ID and check poll interval, output warn messages, but they won't fail. And here's function get update. So here I have last updated at. That's also one thing that YouTrack doesn't have. And I needed to successfully implement this task. So I get description. Yeah, let's get here. So I send every, here's my set interval. So this code will be executed with some intervals. That's our poll interval in here. Yeah. And yeah, so we're querying all issues that are um, in our server, and we're updating them. Yeah, we're querying for issue ID, summary, and description. Why do we need description? In description, we have that last updated. And yeah, I validate that every request went fine. And then for every issue that we got, we create first last update project to get last update that was in project. So first it's 0 milliseconds since 1970, I believe it. And then for every issue that we get, I output that issue in debug mode, get okay, sorry, I don't know why my headphones switched off. Yeah, so we have get update function, get update date function, which is using regular expression to get this date. So it will be Sunday, 21st September. So yesterday, no, today, yeah, yesterday. And then we query for last update. For example, I believe this would be last, yeah. 22nd September, 1329, last update, and it will be here. Why do we need it? We have beautiful options since, beautiful query things for GitHub, and if we at least have some issue that has that last update part, then we will append it. If not, if we have to create another issue, or if we don't have any issues loaded in YouTrack, but we do have them in GitHub, we'll append this. We'll not append this, and GitHub will return us all issues that it has. Again, we send a request to GitHub, we get GitHub updates. Again, we output them, and we're ready to update issues in YouTrack. So what I found out about YouTrack is that we have a topic create issues in REST API documentation, but if I provide issue ID here, I will not create new issue but update issue. That's why I can just copy paste some code from part 1. Before using code from part 1, I filter GitHub updates. I do this because GitHub is not, how do I say it, is checking for value in since being greater or equal, and I only need greater, otherwise I will be constantly updating, that is overloading my CPU and YouTrack's servers. So I filter them, and if there are some issues to be updated, because map won't run for issues to update this empty array, I again create my two-step thing with summary and description, and then I push it, but I have to check for issue existing. So if issue exists, then I try to map summaries, because I think they, even though they might not be identical, I didn't want to push GitHub ID to description since it's irrelevant, and I'm pretty sure that summaries should not be. So for the scope of this project, we can call them identical. For no, not identical, but like an ID for each task. But in general, we shouldn't do this. So here I create task ID that's an empty string. If task is defined and has length more than 0, then I can query task ID from it. So basically we found the task that we have to update. If we didn't find that, it will be empty string, and here, if it's empty string, then we will create new task. And again, we have everything pretty the same with part 1 in this part. So let me show real quick that we can run it. Again, Docker build, but this time part 2. Yep, build and Docker run. Let's find part 2. Yep, part 2, I'm adding --rm here for container to be removed because it will be running constantly, polling data with our poll interval here. So it will not exit and remove itself. And now we can connect to that container and check our logs. Yep, here they are. And it's polling every 5 seconds, so just to show you that it is working, I will create new issue. Let's call it some issue to show on stream, and the description. Create. So issue got created. If we go here, yep, some issue to show on stream successfully updated. We already have it pushed, and yep, here is our issue. So Control C to exit, and Docker stop, not to waste CPU. Stopping takes some time. It's again about handling how Docker sends sigterm, sigkill signals to Node.js. Yeah, here it stopped in 10 seconds. That's average time after. So Docker gives 10 seconds for application to shut down gracefully, and if it doesn't, it just kills it. So, yep, everything is described in README with commands how to run, how to stop, and it also has some images. Oh, it failed. Okay, so it has some images with some logs. You can definitely check them. And thanks for watching. Thanks for this opportunity, and thanks for your time that you spent watching this video.